Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti. Till now we have been covering the section 1 of the Vedanta Treatise. Now, in that, we have covered different aspects of introduction to Vedanta, the basics of Vedanta. So, it explains what is Vedanta, the role of Vedanta in our life, the fundamental ideas behind it, how people, the speakers, philosophers from different part of the world have a respect and regard for the culture, for the knowledge of Vedanta, and how the human being should contact the world, then which was the world and human being, life its course, where we talk about the course a life takes in terms of the personality, the goal, the purpose we should have, then the code of living. We have covered all this. The very interesting point we discussed here was the three temperaments, the sattva, rajas, and tamas, the three aspects of our personality, very important facets of our personality. We all are the combination of these three mental temperaments, and we need to move from tamas to rajas to sattva. The caste system, we discussed about how these masters categorized the society based on the mental temperaments to help society to grow, progress, become better. Then we had the exigency of action, where we spoke about what are the right quality of action, how should we perform. Basically, they're only talking about how to progress, how to grow, how to evolve as a human being. So, as a human, we discussed about body, mind, and the intellect. At the physical level, at the level of the action, how do we grow? And that's where the exigency of action comes in, where we talked about the value of action, what is the importance do we give to action, and the chronology of action. The most important learning of Vedanta is that action per se means nothing. Most people, everyone just sees the expression of the personality and they have a judgment based on that. This person seems to be negative, this person seems to be positive, this person is good, bad. All these judgments are based on the expression of the person, the actions. Vedanta says actions means nothing. We need to go deeper beyond the expression to the internal equipments, the mind and the intellect. That defines the personality. That is where it's coming from. Just because a person is seemingly good doing a negative action doesn't mean anything. He may be having a good intention, good thought to protect, to help, and it happened to be a negative action. Or he may be having a very negative intention to destroy, and it happened to be a seemingly positive action. So the action per se doesn't define anything about the personality. So spirituality is about the mindset to progress. That progressive mindset is spirituality. And if I want to be spiritual, if we have to be spiritual, we need the knowledge to understand how do we progress in life. And that's where the chronology of action is so important, where he explains vasana is a fundamental aspect of the personality, which becomes thought, the first level of expression, then it becomes desire, then it becomes action. So when you have to work on the grossest is the action, understand the activity, be conscious of the action, whatever I'm performing, then move to the type of desires, swadharma, nature, have a higher ideal, a purpose, then move to the thought level, which is having the right intention, right attitude in life, and the vasana level, make it conducive, have the sattva in your personality, make it conducive, get up in the morning and try to promote sattva in the personality, try to reduce rajas, and eliminate tamas. This is how we learn the chronology of action. Then came the renunciation in action. So it's not renunciation of action, but it is renunciation in action. While acting, how can we maintain that mental detachment? Is what they're talking about. Spirituality is not about running away from action. It is about performing action to the best of our ability. What makes it difficult is our involvement in the action. So, how to cut off that involvement and keep that action pure? No prefix, no suffix. That is the purity of action. That is renunciation in action. Then there are three types of action: selfish, unselfish, and selfless. And we move from selfish to unselfish to selfless. Then comes the strength of emotion. Again, an important topic where the emotions are highlighted in the society to the matter of the point of fault, where here they are saying that becomes a weakness in the personality. We are not in control of ourselves, anything and everything. We become emotional, highly agitated, highly disturbed personalities we see around, and it goes to extremes. So it is important that we use the emotion to have develop into strength. How can we develop strength in the emotion? By having a guideline, by having the intellect guiding the emotion. If it is merely the mind driving the action, there is no control in the personality. Mind takes over, we become impulsive, we perform actions which we regret later, but at that moment, intellect was not available. Whatever intellect we have, we need to apply ourselves and act based on the intellect. Never let the mind take over the action. So that is the strength of emotion, where he discussed about the emotion and intellection. We need to segregate between feelings, emotions, likes and dislikes, impulses, and the intellect, which is the ability to think, reason, judge, decide, discriminate, analyze, that logical aspect in our personality. So what happens is we believe that by integrating, by having the intellect, by developing the intellect, we will lose emotions, which is not so. You purify your emotions. The quality of emotions improves. It doesn't get dried up. You just don't express it impulsively. That's about it. You may have a very deep, very fine, very pure emotions for one and all. You don't have to have emotions only for one person. That is attachment. We discussed here the facets of emotion, love and attachment. When love is combined with selfishness, a condition, I have that feeling of affection, identification only when there is something to gain out of it. At the material, physical, emotional, intellectual level, then I have the feeling of identification. If I don't have anything to gain, I don't have the feeling. That is not love, that is attachment. I love myself. Because of that, I am the main factor, main character. So everything has to happen around me. That is not identification with others. So purity of love is universal. Attachment is preferential. And that's what we learned here. Then we discussed about kindness. It's a beautiful emotion of being kind, having the empathy for others. But there is an interesting concept of pity. Don't get into a weak pity. Weakness in the pity is when we do not understand how the laws function. Everything happens for a reason, for a cause. We need to understand, we need to respect it, and not having that attitude of, why is this happening? Poor thing. That nature is itself weakness, which simply means that we don't have the conviction, the courage and conviction on the divinity, on the reality, on the laws of life. So we are doubting laws, we are doubting the reality, we are doubting divinity. So that is the weak pity being highlighted here. Then comes the charity. One of the other expression, facet of emotion is charity. We need to be having a charitable disposition at each level of the personality. physical, emotional, intellectual. Whatever we can do, however we can help, we need to do it. Helping, serving the society is not a favor. Nobody needs our favor. The world can function without us, but it is our obligation to give back. Whatever we can, wherever we are, it is our purpose of life to serve, to sacrifice, to do whatever can be done for others. Wherever we are, whichever field we are in, we need to perform in a way of service and sacrifice. That is being charitable. Now, what is highlighted here in this topic is that the mind, when it takes over, we may get into an indiscriminate charity without understanding how it is being used. So, we need to understand that charity has to be discreet. At any level, we need to understand the need of the other person. According to the requirement, we should be able to give, share, whatever. It can be emotions, not only material wealth. We're talking about actions, we're talking about emotions, we're talking about knowledge. A person, how much a person can take. You are charitable and try to help at that level. So that identification is important, which highlights as having expressed as charity. When you identify with the other person, you genuinely feel for the other person, then comes the understanding that how can I help? What can be done? So, based on the requirement of the other person, you are doing your best. That is, we are talking about the charity. Then the effects of manifestation. If we do not manifest the emotion discreetly, it can be detrimental for oneself and others. We don't realize as a human being, it is very, very critical, very, very important to have be in control of our personality. Let the intellect guide our mind's emotion. We cannot allow the mind to flow just by itself. It's like driving in an expressway. See, there are two ways to avoid an accident. One is drive slow. Expressway, you can drive up to 120 kilometer per hour, but you don't want to come to across an accident. You're driving at 10 kilometer per hour. The bullock carts are going faster than you. That's not the way to function. The other way is being in control of the personality, being in control of the car while you're driving. Now, you may say that I'm driving for 7 hours, 6 hours continuously. Can I just nap for a bit? For a few seconds, can I just take a nap? If I were you, I'll not be in the car. I'll say, stop it, leave me alone. You can do whatever you want to do. Because even a second of lost control is an option. Anything can happen. You just don't know. Any moment, anything can happen. You cannot let go the control of the personality of the car while you're driving. Similarly, in life, it is important, it is critical that we are in control of our personality at every moment. And that's what is highlighted, effects of manifestation. We don't understand the seriousness of it. A small glitch, a small problem, the effect of it can be very, very serious. We don't realize it. So we need to be in control. Then comes the root of emotion. If we have to be in control, understand where the emotions are coming from. And that is highlighted as desires. Desires are being highlighted as an enemy in different religion, as Mara, as Asura. Different religion have a way of putting it across. They all are saying the desires, your Vega, they say, there's in Bhagavad Gita, they say, Vega means the tremendous pressure of the desires. That takes you for a ride. We don't realize that how the desires function. We need to be in control. We need to understand our desires. And then desires, there's an interesting idea given here, which is explains how the ungoverned desires becomes different manifestation of it, which is kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsari, fear, anger, jealousy, greed, delusion. The last is you really don't know what's going on, why you're doing, what you're saying. You start believing that you're in complete control of life, complete control of the world. You are the sole creator. You have everything happens because you decide. All that imaginary problems you create, all that happens, delusion is the extreme of desires. When we lose control, initial phases, we have fear, we get into anger. All these are because of desires. So root problem, the source of all problem is desire. When you get into anger, understand what is the desire which are being intercepted. Why did I get angry? There is nothing wrong with the world. If I am not able to handle the world, if I am getting agitated by the world, there's something fundamentally wrong in me, in my approach to the world, in my way I relate to the world. Sort that out. We can do anything and everything. We can change people, places, but it will not change my mindset. It will not change my approach to life. Wherever I go, I carry the problem with me. So it is important that we are able to understand desires, guide the desires, and then eventually desire wills the self, where he says that first analyze the desires. This is my set of desires. Nothing wrong with desires. Once you have an understanding of desires, then comes the direction you give. That's why we talk about swadharma, ideal, goal, purpose, giving a direction. Otherwise, what happens is desires are going in all directions. There is no understanding. It's just running, rushing, hurrying, worrying. No idea what are we doing? Why are we doing? It's merely wasting such a valuable opportunity called life as a human being. It's a very, very rare opportunity to be born as a human. We need to recognize that and use it to the best of the ability. Every day is an opportunity to become better, to be more in control. See, simple thing is something which was bothering me 10 years back, 20 years back, should not be bothering me today, now, here. If it is, something is going wrong in my approach to life. Simple as that. So definitely, if the same thing, same people, same situation, circumstances are agitating me, I have to work on it. I need to do something about it. So the problem is me and my approach. That's where the understanding comes in. So desires are the fundamental or the core which veils the self, the reality. Even in the ultimate sense, this is the definition which is given: human beings minus desire equal to self, God. So when you eliminate desire, you reach reality. Desire is nothing but thought flow to the world. That's a definition of desire. Thought flow to the world is called desires. Your involvement in the world is desire. That involvement further on agitates a personality. So when we are able to have a control of the personality, automatically every aspect of the personality is being taken care of. So desire is also in control. So we need to use our personality to grow as a human. So we discussed about action, exigency of action, how to perfect action. We discussed about strength of emotion, how to make emotions our strength. Nothing wrong with emotions, but if you let it flow by itself, it becomes your weakness. You get people take you for granted, become like a doormat. Such lovely, pure feelings you have, but people don't see it as such. And you keep on giving emotions to people who don't deserve to have that. That's where discretion comes in. That's where smartness comes in. Vedanta makes you smarter, makes you more able to apply yourself. You want to help. You should be able to help. But by being passive, you're not helping. You're people are taking you for a ride. That's not the way to conduct ourselves. Spirituality doesn't make you weak. It makes you strong internally. Knowledge gives you that stamina, that conviction to function in life. What happens is because we don't have the understanding of the knowledge. Mere knowledge will not help. We need wisdom. And how do you gain wisdom? The three phases of knowledge, we have discussed. We will be coming in the other phase. First is we say, I don't know. The first phase of ignorance is I don't know. To remove that phase of ignorance, you listen to the knowledge, receive the knowledge. Right? The second phase of ignorance is I don't understand it. I know it now, but I don't understand it. And that's where the reflection, self-reflection comes in, manana. First, it's Shravana. Shravana means listening. Those days, there was no other mode of learning. It was only listening. So, Shravana is listening, receiving knowledge. Thereafter, you know. Second phase of ignorance is I don't understand it. And that's where manana comes in. Manana is reflection. The most important part of the day should be given to reflection, self-reflection. So, because knowledge can be the best, see, the best of food can be in front of us, means nothing unless and until we consume it. We break it down, we bite it, and only then it becomes strength in your personality. Otherwise, it can be the best food, but has no meaning. It's not giving you any strength. If you don't have the capacity to digest it, to break it down, you cannot gain any strength out of that food. Similarly, the knowledge can be the best. What you're dealing with is the best of the information given out by the self-realized masters thousands of years back. These are time-tested truths of life. There is no compromise. These masters are talking about the absolute reality. Now, merely having the best of knowledge means nothing. We need to use this knowledge, convert it into wisdom, which is understanding. Very interesting. When we talk about any other knowledge, can be, like we said, Vedanta is a science. We always mention that it's a science, a technical knowledge. Now, in any technical knowledge, we talk about physics, chemistry, mathematics. There's a theory, there's a practical. Applied physics, there's application, engineering, applied mathematics. Even chemistry, you go to the lab, you have application. Right? So theory is different from application. When it comes to spiritual knowledge, there is no theory, no application. You either know it or you don't know it. Simple. So to know it, merely information means nothing. The cab driver will have more information than any one of us. How does it matter? Mere repeating something. I read a quote some time back which said, if I am not applying what I already know, there's no point of gaining any more knowledge. The wording was something different, but the main message was very interesting. If I'm not applying what I already know, there's no more point of gaining any more knowledge, because it's accumulation of knowledge. That is not the way to gain information. We need to reflect. One of the most important method of study this knowledge is read less, think more. If you're spending half an hour a day, whatever time you're spending, 1 hour a day, I don't know, you guys are by yourself, but it is important that highlight this aspect of reflection in your day. First thing in the morning, get up and try to absorb the knowledge. Read less, think more. If you're spending 15 minutes or half an hour, read for maybe 10, 12 minutes, and rest of the time you're trying to apply, understand what is being communicated. That is self-reflection. It's not analyzing anything from your life. You're not personalizing it. It is not, it's not assessing other people, judging other people. That's not the purpose of this knowledge, but it is to understand myself better. So when you are trying to understand the knowledge itself, that is manana. And then comes nididhyasana, which is deeper contemplation, which is so first was I don't know. You removed it by shravana, I know. Second is I don't understand, is removed by manana, which is reflection. The third phase is I have not become it. You have not gained the complete wisdom. You have not reached the self. And that's where nididhyasana comes in, deeper contemplation or meditation. Now, meditation is a state which we all need to reach, but it requires a certain level of discipline, certain level of mind needs to be in control. Very important. We will be covering that part of meditation. There's a chapter on that in section 2. Point to note is you don't meditate to quieten the mind. With a quiet mind, you meditate. Very, very important point to note. You don't meditate to quieten the mind. With a quiet mind, you meditate. So you have to be prepared enough to be able to meditate. Meditation is the last lap of the journey, which we all need to do, but it needs preparation. We cannot take any shortcuts. There is no shortcut in spirituality. Unfortunately, we have to deal with our personality, our desires. We have to fight it, our negativities. We have to go about it, understand it, guide it, deal with it. So then we are ready. We have Durga Puja. That's one of the festival we have in this country. In that, there are 9 days of worship, and the 10th day is the immersion. That's the tradition. So first 9 days, there is puja. Now, in the 9th day, it's divided into three. So 3 deities are being worshipped in 3 days. So first 3 days is goddess Durga. Second 3 days, so it's Kali, Durga, and Saraswati. So first 3 days is goddess Kali, then is Durga, then it is Saraswati. This is what is worshipped. And then the last day, the deity is being immersed. This is the tradition. Now, what is interesting is very philosophical. Goddess Durga represents when you see the Durga Puja, the entire, they have multiple gods in that. It represents perfection, human perfection, self-realization. How do you reach self-realization? The first phase is removing negativities from the personality, highlighted by goddess Kali. Kali represents negativities from the personality. The second phase is to instill positivity in the personality, positive quality, values in the personality, highlighted by goddess Durga. And the third phase is to gain the knowledge of the highest, highlighted by Saraswati. So the first is remove all the negativities, then is gain positive values, then you are ready to gain the knowledge of the highest. That is the way we go about things. So it is important that we understand how we are progressing in life. There is no shortcut to spirituality. Now, that's what we mean by that we need to understand, improve our actions, improve our emotions. And the last verse, light of wisdom, which is talking about the intellect. Veil of ignorance. We are steeped in ignorance. Every facet of our personality is full of ignorance. We don't know where we are coming from. We don't know where we are going. We don't know what are we doing. Every aspect of our personality is steeped in ignorance. So we need this knowledge to guide ourselves to the right direction. What are we doing? Why are we doing? How are we supposed to do? So how to gain wisdom gives the understanding. The purpose of knowledge is only to reflect on it. And this is where it talks about reflection, manana, that to make it your own. Simple logic. If I know fire will burn, why will I go near fire? I will never do that. Just because I don't understand it, the seriousness of it, I can harm myself. Similarly, if only I know that by being selfish and self-centered, I'm harming myself, others around me, I'm not benefiting anybody in that equation, why will I do that? Why will I not be unselfish, selfless, help, serve, have pure feeling of affection, have right understanding in life? Why will I not do that? It's just lack of understanding, lack of knowledge, which needs to be removed by reflection, manana. We have the information, but we need to think about it. And that's how you gain wisdom. And then comes the aggressive and passive, because we keep complaining that we are good, there are good people who are suffering in the world. We do good things, but we don't get the effect of it. People are very negative, society is they're corrupt. Why is it happening like that? Which is explained here, that it is lack of application of intellect. Aggressive and passive is to do with the application of intellect. An aggressive person is applying the intellect, passive person is merely acting on the mind. So a passive person can be good, can be bad. And an aggressive person can be good, can be bad. So the aggressive bad, meaning the one with the powerful intellect and manipulating, cheating, being corrupt in the society, they dominate over the passive good and the passive bad. So we need aggressive good people in the society. These aggressive bad people are the culprit. They don't benefit out of it, but they are smart enough to manipulate and hurt others. And that's what we see, and we complain. So we don't have to complain, but change our way of functioning. Be smart, apply your intellect, and become aggressive good. You may do manipulation, but to benefit society, helping others. That doesn't justify negative action. We're not talking about performing negative action, but a genuine concern, a thought, a care for other. That is important as a human being. Then comes the joy of learning, where Swami is talking about when you have the right approach to knowledge, you don't get bored. We are in this field for more than 2 decades. Genuinely, we enjoy the knowledge. It's so deep, it's so subtle, it's so vital, it's so important, it's so fascinating. You enjoy the knowledge. And that's the joy when the approach is right. Otherwise, you may say, same body, mind, intellect, we keep on talking every time. Why are we, what's the big deal about it? But when you try and approach it in the right way, how does the mind work? How does the intellect work? Go deeper in the personality, go deeper in the level of the mind. It's also thought. Intellect is also thought. How do we discriminate between the thought, which is the mind, thought, which is in the intellect? How does it discriminative thought and the analytic thought works? You are applying yourself, and that gives you that joy in the learning. You are trying to understand it better. I always keep challenging the knowledge. Just because we are in this field doesn't mean anything. I keep challenging. We say that this is the best knowledge available to humanity. On what basis? It's easy to say. We keep taking lectures, sessions, seminar. We keep talking about it. But to myself, I need to challenge it, to make it, to prove it to myself. And trust me, it stands on itself. It really stands. It is powerful knowledge. It is a knowledge which is complete. There is no loophole. There is no way you can prove it wrong. It is really a very, very technical, well thought of, presented. We're talking about self-realized masters given out in generations. It's not 1 or 2 people giving a knowledge. We're talking about centuries of realized masters giving. It is worth investigating. That's the joy you gain when you have the right attitude and approach to the knowledge. Then comes the culmination of human life. Take the knowledge into application. We are still in the section 1, where we are talking about the introduction of Vedanta. And here, the role of religion, Swamiji explains, is to help society to become better, to become more self-sufficient. It is never to discriminate, to segregate ourselves from others. and consummation of life, how we get consumed by life because of wrong attitude. And then the personality chart. This is what we did in the last class. We finished it. It's a very, very beautiful portion of Vedanta, of Bhagavad Gita. It's extract from Bhagavad Gita, where it analyzes our personality. What is the level of our personality? Where do I stand as a human being? Let's be honest to ourselves. It is not to judge anybody, but to understand how much sattvic I am, how much rajasic I am, how much tamasic I am. Which are the areas I need to work on? Knowledge, action, actor, happiness, renunciation, steadfastness. Which are the areas which needs to be addressed? What type of happiness am I enjoying? What type of happiness am I indulging in, getting into? What we fear. I met somebody, he said that I'm scared of getting into spirituality because I may lose my partner. That's a fear. That's what she said. Now, interesting part is, what do we fear? A right intellect guides you what is to be feared, what is not to be feared. We are okay to get into drugs. We are okay to get into indulgence, but we are fearful to get into something positive in life, something valuable, something which can change my personality. I'm scared to take into it, but I'm okay to indulge in drinks and anything indulging in the society. So that's what it highlights, the kind of intellect we are carrying, the kind of happiness I'm enjoying, kind of renunciation I have in my life, the mental attitude. Renunciation is a chapter on renunciation, Swamiji explains. Now, today we are going to start section 2, which is practical Vedanta. Here we have 7 chapters, and these 7 chapters, we are trying to understand, this is going technical. Earlier, it was just a basic introduction. Now onwards, it will be more of a scriptural reference, a direct scriptural reference are being taken. So that's why you see, earlier we said body, mind, intellect. Here we go from body, mind, intellect to 5 sheets. Then we talk about, earlier here we talk about the very interesting, it comes to this concept of, so there is an introversion, the problem with introversion. It's an interesting idea. We'll cover that. So first, when you go introverted, how do you function? Moment you go introverted, you find the sense of satisfaction, peace within you. The nature of the mind is to go extroverted. Whatever we do, it is always trying to find it externally. The problem is external. We try and solve it externally. But here we try to understand, no, the problem was never external. It was always internal. So it has to be solved internally. So the practical exercise is being given. And here, this is a very interesting concept of the states of consciousness, the 4 states of consciousness, the waking, dream, deep sleep, and the 4th state, which covers here the gross, subtle, causal body. And then we extend it here, the states of consciousness. The 4th state, the path to reality, is to move from the waking to the 4th state, self-realization. Then how do we do that is the 4 yogas, which are being prescribed in the scriptures. Karma yoga for the physical body, path of action. Bhakti yoga for the mind, which is part of devotion. For the intellect, jnana yoga. See, interesting point here is, yoga means to unite, to get back. It is about purposeful action, purposeful emotion, purposeful learning. We all are acting. We all are performing action. Karma means action. We all are performing action. But what is the quality of action? Remember, if any action agitates you, that is a negative approach to action. Something is going wrong in the approach, nothing wrong with action. So, positive way of doing it is karma yoga, dedicated to higher. What have you to do with it? Whatever field you're in, just perform to the best of your interest. There is no prefix, no suffix in that action. There's nothing to gain out of that action. That quality, that makes it pure. And that is karma yoga. Using action to grow, reduce desires. Growth is equal to reduction of desires. So then comes the Bhakti Yoga, which is again, instead of getting attached to object and beings of the world, direct it to higher, that is devotion. So have a purpose for that emotion. Guide the emotion to understand the benevolence we are receiving every moment of our life, unasked. Somebody is taking care of the oxygen supply around us, the weather around us, the heartbeat inside me, the blood circulation in me, the blood oxygen level in me. Every aspect of my personality, somebody is taking care of it, protecting me, helping me. Being grateful of that is called bhakti. Bhakti is not begging for something more. Look at the irony. We have billions and trillions of things with us, and we want one more thing. Bhakti is to be grateful of what all we have, every moment of our life. That is Bhakti Yoga. Then comes Jnana Yoga, to recognize what is permanent and what is impermanent in life. So these are the way to reduce desires. These are the 4 yogas which has been given. The 4th yoga is Hatha Yoga, which is where you start from, which is physical exercises. You need to be fit. Whatever you want to do in life, the fitness is the most important part of the personality. Fitness is to do with respecting the physical body, something which has been given by the divinity. We should have that respect and regard for what we have. That is physical fitness, which is critical in any field to perform any activity, even in the spiritual field. In fact, in the Upanishads, in the chanting, they talk about physical fitness. Let my body be fit. Because if you're not fit, you cannot do anything. So physical fitness is required for the making it conducive for the mental and intellectual level. Then comes the renunciation, the chapter where it talks about what is renunciation. Here, Swamiji actually analyzes question by question by removing the misconception of renunciation. Can renunciation mean giving up, running away from the world? He says, if it was so, it won't be given to people, masses. It will be only for few people who are ready for giving up. It can't be. Why will Lord Krishna be giving it in the battlefield to Arjuna? That's a proof that knowledge is not meant for retirement. In fact, there is nothing like retirement. Retirement is a myth. Die with the boots on. That attitude in life, your type of action may change, but there is no reason to have the thought of running away from action. Renunciation, he analyzes with question and he explains that renunciation is a mental state which comes through knowledge and understanding. By that, you give the right value to the world. So it's a mental attitude in life. So you don't give up anything. You give up your anxiety, your mental, internally, whatever is stopping you to perform your obligations and your activity, that you give up, not actions. So that leads to bliss, and that is the preparation for meditation. Then you are in the direction to meditation. And then he explains on meditation, the technique of meditation, where he talks about how do you make it conducive. So you have prepared your mind, you are ready. Remember, we said with the prepared mind, you meditate. With the quiet mind, you meditate. So now you are in control of your personality, meaning whatever you want to do, you are able to handle it. There is no problem in doing it. So you're not getting distracted, you're not getting carried away by things, you are able to perform to the best of your ability, no prefix, no suffix. That is the personality. Thereafter, you're ready for meditation. Then is a technique, the principle of meditation, how to keep the things, external aspects, the internal personality ready for meditation, how to chant on the symbol Om, one of the symbol being given. You can choose any symbol, the procedure details, and that leads to self-realization. And then comes the 15th chapter, which is talking about the state of self-realization. It talks about, this is from the Bhagavad Gita again. And so who is a self-realized person? How does he conduct himself internally, externally? How do he conduct? How is the impact on the world? So That's the section 2. So we will start with the first chapter 9 of section 2. Basic constitution. The mission of every human being is to discover the supreme self, to realize the eternal being within you. It requires a study of your constitution, an analysis of its constituents, and how each of them reacts with the external world. Thus, through self study and a programmed application, you reach the innermost core of your personality. You realize your divine self. See, what is important is to start the journey. It's not external, it's internal journey. We need to know ourselves better. And that's where Vedanta comes in. Vedanta is just talking about ourselves. So we need to understand the basic constitution of our personality, analyze the constituents of the personality and how each of them reacts to the world. Then, through self analysis study, you are going deeper into the core of the personality. See, we also say, you are the self. No, it's not hidden. It's not somebody is not letting you know. You know it. You are the self. Now, how do we understand it? It's just a word. You are God. You are the reality. You are the creator. You have the power. The irony is we operate at the level of the individuality, the body-mind-intellect. And we are begging at the level of the perceptions, emotions, and thought. What can I get from people, from the world, at the level of eye, ear, nose, tongue, and skin? So, at the level of perception, I want something from the world. At the level of emotions, I want people to praise me, to like me. I don't like people who hate me. Right? At the level of intellect, I have certain ideologies. I have certain philosophy. I want everybody to listen to me, agree with me. They should not disagree with me. Now we are playing around, we are operating at the very, very surface level. We have to go deeper in our personality. These are just vestures. This is not our personality. You are not this body. You are not this mind. You are not the intellect. It can't be. You can't be just the body. If it is, then when the body is gone, you will also be gone. It's not so. You exist. You can't be just the mind. Mind is just emotions. See, it's like saying, I have a car, I have a house, I have a family, I have children. These belong to you. You are not that. When the car goes, you don't go. When the car is lost, you're not lost. These are equipments which belong to you. The body belongs to you. The mind belongs to you. The intellect belongs to you. You are not the body. You're not the mind. You're not the intellect. You're something more finer, more subtler than these equipments. And that's what it means by saying that analyze the constituents and go within. Each of them reacts to the external world, how the mind reacts to the world, how the intellect reacts to the world. Thus, through self-study and program application, you reach the innermost core of your personality. You realize your divine self. So, it requires certain level of understanding, thinking, reflection. A human being is constituted of the divine self, Atman, and the body, mind, and the intellect. The self is the spirit, the body, mind, intellect is matter. Matter is inert, insentient, but in contact with the self, it becomes a living being. Phenomenon akin to an electric bulb glowing. The bulb has no light by itself, nor does electricity. But when the bulb is in contact with electricity, there is a brilliant expression of light. So also, your matter equipments have no life in themselves, nor does the self. But when the equipments are in contact with the self, there is a scintillating expression of life. Now, what he's saying is, we go to the So we have seen, by now we have seen earlier section, we have covered this aspect about There's a body. Body by itself cannot act. It is merely an external equipment. Body performs action through the mind or the intellect. Either the mind or the intellect is driving the body to act. Mind is nothing but feelings, emotions, likes and dislikes, impulses, and the intellect is reason, thinking, analysis, discrimination, logical aspect of the personality is the intellect. Intellect is different from intelligence. That also we have covered earlier. Intelligence is just information gained from the external sources that is not going to develop the independent thinking. And that is intellect, the capacity to apply, think independently, right? So we have covered that. Then now what they're saying is that how does the reality work through it? So till here, we were talking about there's no reality in the picture. We're only saying the expression is there. Body is the final expression, the action. How is it coming? Go back, there's a mind, there's intellect. Now we are saying, no, okay, fine. But the body by itself cannot act, fair enough. Mind is making the body to act. Intellect is making the body to act. But what is making the mind to feel and what is making the intellect to think? Fundamentally, and that's where the body, mind, intellect has further on come from the vasanas. Vasana is our inner personality, and that is being powered by the self. So, very interesting analogy Swamiji gives here. It's talking about the electricity and a bulb. So body, mind, intellect is just matter. Body is gross matter. Mind and intellect is subtle matter. We discussed earlier, this is body is a gross body. Mind and intellect is a subtle body, right? So body, mind, intellect, all three are made of matter. Matter means 5 elements. It's made of 5 elements, right? So fire, water, earth. So space. So what are the 5 elements we have? Space, air, fire, water, earth. Right? These are the 5 elements. Now, body is made of the gross elements. It's given in the scripture called Tanmatra, which we will be covering someday there's a text called Atma Bodha where it explains about it. And the mind and intellect is made of the subtle matter, subtle aspect of the same matter, elements, 5 elements. Those are the combination makes the mind and intellect. So here we are saying that body, mind, intellect, all are made of matter. In fact, even vasanas are the unmanifested matter, just unmanifested form of the desires. The life-giving principle is the self, God, Allah, Vaheguru, Bhagwan, whatever we want to call it that. That is the pure consciousness. So the pure consciousness functioning through the body acts. Pure consciousness functioning through the mind feels, through the intellect thinks. So is going to the deeper level of the personality. So matter is inert, insentient. For the contact with the self, it becomes living being. That's what we are saying. So self per se is like electricity. Body, mind, intellect per se is like the bulb. Self per se has no expression. Electricity per se has no expression. Body, mind, intellect per se has no expression. Bulb per se has no expression. When the electricity combines with the bulb, there is a light. When the self combines with the body, mind, intellect, there is life. So the expression is the manifestation. The reason behind is the pure consciousness, which is making the body to act, mind to feel, intellect to think. So the core we go beyond is the self. That's the life-giving principle. So also the matter equipment have no life in themselves, nor does the self. But when the equipments are in contact with the self, there is a scintillating expression of life. The physical body houses the organs of perception and action. The organs of perception take in stimuli from the external world. The stimuli are color and form for the eyes, sound for ears, smell for nose, taste for tongue, and touch for skin. The mind and intellect react with the stimuli. Organs of action send out response back into the world. This we have covered in one of the topic, if you remember, three transactions of life, where we discussed about receipt, reaction, response. So what he's saying is that the body has two aspects: organs of action and organs of perception. So organs of perceptions is receiving the world, the stimuli from the world, eye, ear, nose, tongue, and skin. So these organs are receiving from the world, stimuli from the world. There's a reaction within the personality in the level of the mind and the intellect, feelings, emotions, and the thinking. And you respond back to the world with the organs of action. So organs of perception and action are the part of the body. Mind has its own feelings and emotions. Intellect has thinking and reasoning. So the stimuli for different sense objects are being taken in the mind. The organs of action sends out response back to the world. If the mind alone reacts with the stimuli without consulting the intellect, the responses would be impulsive, eccentric, hysterical, leading to insanity. But when the mind takes the guidance of the intellect, the responses would be objective, discrete, mature. So what he's saying is, here we discussed about if the action is driven by the mind, it is impulsive, emotional. Mind need to take the guidance from the intellect to perform action. Right? At all times, it should be driven, action should be driven by the intellect. Even the emotions should go through the intellect, filtered through the intellect and expressed. Then you are in the safe ground. So that's insanity. Insanity is merely acting on the mind. We don't realize how powerful the mind is. There is a chapter where we discuss in detail about the mind, how hysterical, how eccentric, how the mind function. So we need to understand what we are dealing with. It's like a Ferrari engine. You can't play around with it. It's deadly. It's such a serious, such a powerful engine. In Bhagavad Gita, it says, we discussed earlier, the same mind becomes your friend or an enemy. Depends how you use the mind. So if you are in control of the mind, it supports your endeavor. Whatever you want to do in life, it supports it. It helps you. It becomes your friend. If you are not in control of the mind, if mind is dictating terms, carrying it all actions by itself, no consultation by the intellect, no thinking, no reasoning, it becomes your enemy. It does not let you function normally. It stresses out. It agitates you. Simple things in life, you're not able to function, not able to perform because the mind is not in your control. So never let the mind perform action by itself. So when the mind takes the guidance of the intellect, the responses would be objective, discrete, mature. Whatever be the activities of the body, mind, and intellect, the self is the life-giving principle enlivening them all. That is said to be Atman, God, the supreme power which vitalizes your body to act and perceive, your mind to feel, and your intellect to think. Without the presence of the self, these equipments remain inert as a mass of matter. So the life-giving principle in the body, mind, and intellect is the self. Without the self, these have no existence per se. They don't have any life per se. However, the skeptic questions the authenticity of the existence of the supreme power. He refuses to accept anything beyond the perceptible terrestrial world because of inadequacy of thinking material required for conceiving the transcendental, and dismisses the concept of a transcendental being as a fanatic belief of a person without reason backing it. Ironically, there are many aspects of the world that our skeptics themselves believe, except without reason. The most rational, even scientists, would find it difficult to live in the world without assumptions and beliefs. In truth, it would be practically impossible to go by reason proof at every turn of life. How do you know that you are the son of your parents? When you go for a meal to a restaurant, how do you know the food is not contaminated? When you hire a cab, how do you know the driver is sane? There are numerous other questions that remains unanswered in your mind. You perhaps would prima facie dismiss these thoughts as absurd, ridiculous. Yet you go through these experiences by mere assumptions and beliefs. However, these beliefs and assumptions are not totally baseless. They are supported by several corroboratory evidences which stand to reason. Hence, they are not blind beliefs. Likewise, the introduction of Supreme Self as a transcendental power, the Godhead vitalizing the material equipments into the living being, is not a groundless belief. A careful analysis of life experiences would provide you enough reason to substantiate the belief. So, when we talk about the body mind intellect, it is something which is understandable, something we can relate to, connect with. When we talk about the self, self is unknown. The life giving principle is unknown. It can't be perceived, felt, or thought of. So we tend to have an attitude that, is it really there? What are we saying? How do we say that? To that, Swamiji explains that there's several things in life we have taken for granted. You cannot have a perceptible proof of every aspect of your life. You need to agree with, believe in things which you cannot see. But it is not blind belief. There are corroboratory evidences to have an understanding. So it's an understanding backed belief. It's not mechanically taking it for granted just because somebody said, I believe in that. No. They are asking us to inquire for us ourselves. So the knowledge gives you a direction, a methodology to question, to inquire into the reality. That's how we should approach in the knowledge. It's not because the master said this, it's not because self-realized masters are saying, repeated several times. These are not any reason to accept it, but we need to verify for ourselves. So there will be more ways to understand. In the next class, we'll take it forward. Thank you so much.